This is a terrifying ghost story. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about some pretty scary stuff, and I actually have an email associated with this account where anyone who finds this page can send me their ghost stories. And let me tell you, these are genuinely terrifying, and this is one of them. So let's get into it. This story comes from Sam, who says that this is not the most interesting ghost story, but I beg to differ. And Sam, on this particular night, was laying in bed and had woken up in the middle of the night. He says it was around 2 a.m. It wasn't out of the ordinary for her in particular because she says that she was scared of everything as a little girl, and I feel like that's not super uncommon for children, period, to be scared of the dark. She goes ahead and gets up and goes to her parents' room because she cannot fall back asleep. And for context purposes, I will be going over the layout of her family's room. The way that this room was set up was the bed, from my understanding, was on the far back wall facing the door that Sam had just come into. And it's important to note that Sam's parents actually slept with the door open at night in case anything were to happen. So she crawls into bed and she's just looking out of this doorway. She cannot fall back asleep. And right as she's dozing off, she sees this tall, thin woman with pin straight hair walk down the steps and onto the first floor. At this point, Sam is frozen in fear and is wondering, who is that? Because everyone in her family who had longer hair either had shoulder length hair or very, very, very curly hair. Not this long pin straight hair that she had just seen on this woman. After this woman had reached the first floor, Sam says that there was just this loud bang that came up and she has no idea how to describe it. She has no idea what it was. It wasn't the cabinets closing. It wasn't a door slamming. It wasn't her jumping off of something. It's just this unknown loud bang. And what is also important to note is this was not a trick of her eyes. This was not somebody that she was seeing in the complete darkness. This woman had walked by the nightlight that they had in their hallway. So Sam was 100% sure that this was a real person. And at the end of her email, she is trying to rationalize, and she has been saying for years that she just doesn't know if it's the trick of the mind, her imagination. She doesn't know what it was, but she knows for certain that she was not dreaming. I'll be honest, I just saw the movie Weapons, and there's a scene in the movie that reminds me of this particular story. If you know, you know. And if you don't, you should go see it. But anyways, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.
Yesterday, a woman gave birth under a underpass in Walthamstow in East London and disappeared, vanished. This story absolutely baffles me, and it just gets weirder and more worrying the more you hear. Around 8 a.m. in Walthamstow, a woman was found by a stranger crying in distress, and this stranger found out that this woman is actually giving birth. This stranger, a very good Samaritan, stayed with this woman and helped her give birth under this underpass. The woman who gave birth is reportedly a rough sleeper, and she gave birth then and there on the streets in public. When she was giving birth, I'm not sure if there was any medical assistance called, an ambulance, the police. I don't think anyone was called because I can't see any reports on the internet that any sort of help came. 8 hours later, around 4 p.m, she was picked up by two men in a blue transit van. Then she disappeared, gone. Literally a mystery, gone in the wind. Nobody knows who these men are. Nobody knows if these men were helping her or if she's in danger. All the police know she's missing, the baby's missing, and they're desperate to find her. The woman was described to be wearing a black dress and a heavy jumper. She is believed to be called Anne Marie. The police are desperately trying to find her because they don't know if she was taken willingly. They don't know if she's safe. They don't know her medical situation. They know nothing. So they just want to make sure that she's okay and that she has all the treatment and everything she needs as a new mother who just gave birth rough on the streets. This is really weird because I live in East London. So if anybody lives in East London, just keep your eyes out. I mean, you literally never know. You literally never know. The internet is so powerful because we don't know if this woman is in danger. We don't know anything about this woman because by all means, she could be okay or she could be in serious, serious danger.
Here's something I sucked at for a really long time, and now I'm beginning to get over it. Hi, I'm Ansley. I'm a paranormal investigator, and I'm a foodie. I struggled with self-doubt, comparison for most of my life, and I realized that was a limiting belief on myself. And I'm saying this because I feel like it might help someone else, and I care about y'all. So, in the beginning of this year, I was invited by the former Lamb Mortuary to go and do a paranormal investigation. This place was featured recently on HBO's new series, The Mortician. And I went, took my friend Zachariah. Turns out that when we got there, we were the first people to ever investigate this place. pretty crazy. I went with one small camera and no budget, okay? I had no idea about the history of this place. I had no idea it was going to be a show at some point, but we went. We did a tour and then an investigation. It was some of the best paranormal evidence I've ever gotten, probably in top 3 or 4. Everything I felt there was so real, and it still affects me. Worked really hard on editing this for a couple months with my editor David, decided to make it a 2-hour special, and then the self-doubt creeped in when we were done, and I didn't post it. I didn't post it because I was like, oh, everyone's gonna think this is boring. The lighting isn't good enough. I only have one camera and blah, 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 blah. Ugh. So I didn't post it for months. I watched it last night. Holy shit. It's scary. Scary because it feels like you're with us. You feel the energy coming out of the camera. It's weird. It's a video that you watch late at night when you're in bed and it's dark and this is all you have on your laptop. A lot of you have been messaging me being like, where are your paranormal investigations? And I really appreciate that. I'm so happy that you enjoy it. I'm happy that you enjoy kind of my vision and the way I do things, because I personally get turned off by the paranormal space a lot because of the fake evidence. Some of it's really boring. Some of it's just disingenuous. It feels like I'm not even trying to complain. It's just something I've noticed over the years, because that is a lot of content that I consume. And so it's disappointing, and I got discouraged. But not anymore. I'm posting this video on YouTube. I hope you enjoy it. You don't have to watch the full 2 hours if you don't want to. You can skip through it. It's really cool, and I'm going to make more videos like that. I have a lot more paranormal investigations coming up for the rest of the year, so I hope you stay tuned. Let me know what you think of this one. Everything that we experienced was real in the moment. A lot of it is one take. A lot of it I cannot make up, and a lot of it I still cannot explain. So go watch it. Or not. Or not. The message of this is just screw the self-doubt, okay? This is just my personal story, but like, screw it. Screw the self-doubt. Don't do it anymore. Oh.
Okay, part 2 of how I found out that my imaginary friend that I had at 5 years old was real. And if you haven't seen part 1, go to my page and watch it, and come back and watch part 2. Okay, so I proceeded to tell my dad everything that I had found out about my imaginary friend, and he was pretty stunned at the story of how she passed away. And he pretty much, told me what I had already researched, that, she might have been lost, she might have been scared, she might have been confused about, how, everything that happened, or, what happened, which is why she attached herself to me. So everything about this story, it just, like, for me to say it hits home, it is home. Her family is from my city, and very close by. Like, her house where she was taken from is not too far from my aunt's house, my aunt that we used to go pick up. Where they found her isn't far at all. Like, it's so just very close, right? It's very sad, and it's very unfortunate. It's one of those things where the mom's boyfriend, unalived her. I think that when I read that, I felt really good, I mean, like I said, it's very sad about what happened to her, and I hate things like that. I hate to see, hear, read stuff about, things like that happening to kids. But it kind of made me feel like some type of way, and it made me emotional. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, because look at me, I'm getting all teary-eyed. It made me feel good because I helped her in a way. You know what I mean? Like, the stories that my family tells me, and even the kids I used to play with in my neighborhood when we grew up, and they would be like, oh yeah, Jazz, like, after a while, when we would go play with you, it was always about Lisa, do this to Lisa, and push Lisa, and go catch Lisa. And there's no stories of, like, Lisa making me do something bad, or me being scared of Lisa. Like, it was never anything like that, so it made me feel good, because although she physically wasn't here, we played like I was her friend and she was mine. And that is the good thing that comes out of all of this. I will say as well, as I was researching everything, her murderer, he was sentenced to death, and they executed him a couple of years ago. To say that, the family got justice is something that I'm grateful for. Obviously, nothing is going to take away the pain of that family, but I feel like that brings them a little bit of peace. Now, my dad also proceeded to ask me, like, if I would go visit her tombstone. And now I'm scared of all that stuff. Like, do I want my kids to have an imaginary friend? No. And I don't know how my parents did it after all the stories that they would tell me. I guess they just weren't scared of that type of stuff. But I don't know, you know, now that I know everything I know, like I said, I found all this out like 2 to 3 years ago, right? And it just changed everything for me. Like, I think about it in a whole different way, and I'm still thinking about going and possibly visiting her tombstone. But like I said, now I'm a chicken to all that stuff. So I'm like, do I want a ghost to get attached to me now? No. Like I said, there's nothing bad. There's no bad memories of me having this imaginary friend. Pobrecita, you know, I feel really, really bad of how she was taken. But I'm so glad that that monster is dealt with and over with. But yeah, that's my story. And it's a crazy one. And it's like I said, I found out about all this 2 to 3 years ago, and I can still talk about it like if I just found out yesterday. But yeah, that's it.
Before I start today's video, I need to show you what I got in my P.O. box because it's the fucking coolest thing ever. This is coming from, okay, I'm gonna spell her name out, T-A-N-J-A, but I have a feeling it's not Tanja. I have a feeling it's pronounced like Tanya, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but thank you so much for sending me this. How cool are these? Like, what? Please tell me you know what this is. To blow bubble and the bubble. I'm pretty sure I have these, but mine are brown eyes and not blue. It's so funny how well you guys know me because these are so cute. Hear me out. Okay, but these are so freaking cute. I'm not gonna lie, I've been in such a funk lately because like life is crazy. Obviously, I don't want to bring my problems to you guys because I feel like when I come to social media it's to escape my reality. Like when I watch my favorite content creators, it's because I want to escape my reality. So imagine if I just like let it all out to you guys. You'd probably be fucking depressed with me, but maybe these will get me out of a funk, okay? Maybe I needed this. Okay, I love these so much. What the heck? Look at the little strawberries. Okay, so I do have something like this, but not like these. You can literally squish these. I definitely saved the best for last. You just wait. I'm sorry, what? I need to put these on immediately. They just became part of my curls at this point. Still in a funk, but with cute earrings on. Anyway, thank you so much. I know that she said she sent me more, so I'm gonna have to check my P.O. box, but thank you so much for sending me these. I really appreciate it. This story is coming from Saltillo, Coahuila, and the guy that's telling the story says that his grandfather shared this story with him and it has just stayed with him forever. Scary shit is, I actually have family there and I've experienced the parties that they're talking about because we've had to walk like a good distance to get to parties, especially when they're in the middle of nowhere, like those really, really small towns. So this actually happened to the grandfather's friend, and like I said, back in the day it was more common for people to ride their horses if a party is happening like a town over, or for them to just walk all the way there. So one night they knew that there was a party happening and the grandfather said that all of his friends were gonna go, but that he decided not to go because that party was really far away and they did not have horses, so they were just gonna go ahead and take that long walk all the way over there, party, and then basically walk in the middle of the night all the way back to their town. So again, they do end up going to the party, and on their way back they realize that they're so tired because hello, they partied and now they have to do like the long walk all the way back to their town. So as they're walking back, some of them are super drunk, some of them are just delirious, and some of them are just really tired because they knew they had to go all the way back home. So one of them out loud says, "My feet hurt so bad right now that if the devil comes up to me, I will leave with him." And they all start laughing and they all agreed with him like, yeah, I'll go too, I'm so tired. But it was like a joke. In that moment, from a little bit far away and just by the light of the moon, they were able to see that there was a donkey, a black donkey in the distance. They were all excited. They started running to that donkey because they were like, let's all get on and we'll take the donkey all the way home and none of us will be tired. I don't know how they did it, but they all managed to get on that donkey, and after a bit of that donkey walking towards their hometown, one of them noticed something really strange. He thought to himself, how is it possible that all 8 of us are able to get on this donkey and that the donkey is strong enough to take us? He turned to look at all of his friends just to make sure, like, are they all really on the donkey? Are we all really on it? It's strong enough? And when he did that, he actually looked down to the ground and realized that the donkey was not walking. It was like flying above the ground. He says that when he noticed that, the donkey started making sounds almost like if it was laughing, and then it just started to disappear to the point where they all just fell to the ground. Obviously, when they all hit the ground, they still managed to get up because they were so scared that they started running towards their homes. Everyone was still confused at what the hell just happened. Like, what is up with the donkey? Why were we in the air? Like, how did we all fit? But they all just ran home. The following morning, the grandfather who's telling the story to us and the one that didn't go to the party said that he was going to his friend's house just to see how the party went. When he went to his first friend's house, obviously that friend told him what happened with the donkey and everything. But here's the strangest part of the story, which is also very sad. About a month after that happened, all 8 of the grandfather's friends passed away in very strange ways. The people of that town came to the conclusion that maybe the devil came back for them just to seal the deal, because they all did say that they would go with him if he showed up, which is fucking crazy. But what do you guys think? What do you make of this? Do you think that he actually came for them, or was it something different?
You cannot tell me that she is not the most beautiful person you have ever seen. Like, hello. This is the stunning Linda Sobek. Linda is a model, actress, and a cheerleader for the Los Angeles Raiders. Linda is a striking blonde with piercing blue eyes. Linda is 27 years old, living in Hermosa Beach, California. Hermosa Beach is a beautiful town with 2 miles of shoreline. Hermosa Beach is pretty much always sunny, amazing weather, and known to attract young and beautiful people. One of the people being Linda Sobek. It's a Thursday morning on November 16th of 1995. Linda is called for a last-minute photo shoot. Linda heads to the shoot and tells her mama that she'll call later to check in, but she's never seen or heard from again. Linda's mama immediately doesn't feel right because Linda said she was going to call her. She didn't. Linda's brother is telling his mom, no, Linda's fine, she's working. Don't worry, she probably had something else to do. Linda's mom, Elaine, is adamant something is wrong, especially because later that day, Linda had an audition for the show Married with Children. She wouldn't have missed that. Her missing that audition? Where's she at? The family sends out an astonishing 53,000 flyers and a $20,000 reward on any info on Linda's disappearance. Linda also did something she had never done before. She had taken up an offer on this photo shoot without telling anybody the photographer's name or where she was going. Linda had never done that before, so this was out of the ordinary for her. No one knew where she was. And since Linda took this assignment outside of her modeling agency, nobody had a clue. 2 days later, a worker finds, in a trash bin, beautiful photos of a young woman. He takes these photos home because they look so good and professional. He has them in his backpack and simply forgets about them. Until late Monday night, he's sitting at home watching TV, and he notices the Linda Sobek missing case. And he thinks to himself that the woman on the TV looks strikingly similar to the woman in the photos that he found in the trash bin. This guy, of course, immediately calls the police. Now rewind 2 years earlier, not far from where Linda lives, skeletal remains were found of a different woman, 20-year-old Kimberly Pandelios. She was also a blonde, beautiful model. Like Linda, Kimberly was called last minute to a modeling assignment. With who? They don't know. Now, as days go by on Linda's disappearance, investigators start to suspect foul play. A few days after Linda's disappearance, a man by the name of Charles Rathbun calls police. He tells them that he was with Linda at the restaurant Denny's on the morning she disappeared. He said they went through her portfolio in which had professional photos from photo shoots she had done. Charles said that after him and Linda's meeting, they both left the restaurant and she did not model for him and he never seen her again. Linda's car was found at the Denny's restaurant with no evidence of foul play on the vehicle. Remember the worker that found photos of Linda in the trash bin? Well, along with the photos was a rental agreement for a Lexus sports utility vehicle. The name on the document was Charles Rathbun. Charles said that the rental agreement must have just got mixed up with the photos that were found of Linda in the trash can. Police decide they're going to go find this vehicle that Charles rented, see if there was possibly any evidence in it that would lead them to the whereabouts of Linda. Once they get their hands on the vehicle, given the fact it's a rental, it's been thoroughly cleaned inside and out, but not cleaned enough. In the back seat was what appeared to be a red stain. They test the stain. It's human blood. They also find a car cover which tested positive not only for human blood, but saliva. Interview Charles again, and he changes his story. He now says he did in fact hire Linda to model for him, and a photo shoot with the sports vehicle that he had rented. Charles says that him and Linda drove to El Mirage, a dry lake bed. El Mirage is about 2 hours north of Hermosa Beach, where Linda lives. Charles claims he told Linda to drive the vehicle in tight motions, like a donut form. He claimed that Linda asked him to demonstrate the maneuver. He says that while demonstrating what he wanted her to do in the vehicle, he accidentally hits her with the car, killing her. Like, you're lying. Anyways, investigators believe that Linda could still be alive, so they tell Charles to take them to her grave. It's now 9 days after her disappearance. The search was unsuccessful. He's leading them in circles on purpose. He's stalling. He's trying to buy himself more time so that Linda's body is completely decomposed by the time the investigators find it, to diminish as much evidence as he could. They go on another search with Charles, this time in a helicopter, after numerous failed attempts. This is where the truth of what actually happened to Linda comes out. Linda Sobek was buried in a 2-foot shallow grave next to a tree. Linda was perfectly preserved, which was surprising and extremely unexpected after a 9-day burial. A forensic archaeologist was brought in to get as much, and more so any evidence that she could. The autopsy will later reveal her true cause of death, and whether it was an accident or cold-blooded murder. Go to part 2. This is part 2 about the absolutely beautiful Linda Sobek. Linda's autopsy revealed terrifying events. Her body showed no signs of being hit by a car, like Charles claimed. Linda's blood alcohol level was well above the state legal limit. Linda Sobek's official cause of death was neck and body compression, asphyxia. She was strangled to death. The medical examiner said Linda's body had signs of struggling to breathe. Her lungs had hemorrhaged, and so did her neck and eyes. She was clearly awake while this was happening and fighting for her life. Linda had a twisted wrist and ligature marks on her ankles. Linda's body had oddly been washed before her burial, and her clothes had been changed. Detectives decide to speak to friends of Charles, and finds out that he has a huge hatred for blondes. Friends of Charles said at one point Charles referred to Linda as a little bitch, and that she was difficult to work with. Through all of this, Charles maintains his innocence and says that Linda's death was an accident. Investigators decide to do a little bit more digging on Charles and find out that a few years earlier, Charles was arrested for raping and attacking a coworker. Back to Linda, Charles claims that after he accidentally hit her with the car, that she started screaming, and as he was trying to calm her down, he accidentally suffocated her. Like, what are you even saying? Investigators also believe that Linda drank against her will. Like I said earlier, her blood alcohol level was way above the state legal limit, and remember, she had an audition later that day for a TV show. She wouldn't have jeopardized that by getting drunk right beforehand. Then Charles drops this bombshell on investigators and says that the sex with Linda was consensual and that she was all for it, and that there were photos in the desert to prove it. Charles's brother goes to find these photos. He was actually able to locate these rolls of film. Charles's brother develops these films himself instead of taking them to the police, and the film had photos of Linda, normal looking photos, and then there were other photos of female genitalia. You couldn't see a head, not really any body. The first photos are of Linda, but then the pictures of the female genitalia, they come to find out after further examination, the naked photos are not of Linda Sobek. Who was the naked girl in the photos? Could it have been another victim? We'll probably never know. So far, it's clear that Charles raped and murdered Linda. Assistant District Attorney Mary Jean Brown believes that Charles probably didn't mature past the ages of 18 to 19 years old and didn't know how to handle the rejection of women. I would say probably particularly blondes, because as I mentioned earlier, Charles's friends said that Charles had a huge hatred for blondes and he couldn't stand them. This was obviously more of an obsession with blondes than a hatred.
Hands up if you are your parents' favourite child. Your truck is on the driveway. It's brand new. You've even got personalised registration. One more picture, and then you can go, I promise. Your mum is always taking pictures of you. You remind yourself it's just because she's proud. I'm trying not to cry. Mum, I'm literally going to come back every semester. It's as if I've died. As soon as she's gone and the coast is clear, your dad pulls you to one side. Listen, be nice to your mum. This is the first time she's ever gone through anything like this. Remember what I said. You do not drink and get in this car. You remember everything else as well, don't you? Be safe. You're too young to be a granddad. You know what these college girls are like. They could get drunk, they could say anything they like. You need to be careful. If it does happen, you'll have to marry her. I love you. Go on, you better go. It's your first time living alone, and you cannot wait. You have the best group of friends, proper boys. It's the start of a whole new life. You're finally an adult. And when you arrive, it absolutely lives up to its reputation. Fit girls absolutely everywhere. And you have your pick of them. You've always known you were handsome. If it wasn't the mirror reminding you, strangers would. And your friends were always jealous. I hate going out with him. He gets the best looking girls. They literally flock around him. How do you do it? And even though they were all jealous, they were proper friends. Brian, Georgina's over there. Go and say it to her. Go on. Gina, what have you done to my mate? I have never seen him like this. I think he's in love with you. Obviously you weren't in love with Gina. Obviously Gina knew that, right? Surely everyone knows that 21-year-old boys just want to have fun. It's part of the experience. Catching feelings is not on your to-do list at uni. You're there to get your degree and have a good time, not meet your soulmate. But then you see her. She's like a ray of bloody sunshine. Everyone loves her, and so do you. You also love the chase. You can't help it, you're 21. And when you start to feel that feeling, start to miss her, you get scared. If someone invites you into their home and offers you the last cookie in their biscuit tin, you're not going to say no, are you? Obviously they know once you've eaten that cookie you can't give it back. So why would they offer it to you if they didn't mean it? That person obviously loves to host. Otherwise, why else would they have you in their house? You get angry when she makes you feel bad. She knew the score. You're not here to meet your soulmate. So you have to block her. What else can you do? She's not going to take no for an answer. You can't give the cookie back. But if there was ever going to be a girl, maybe it would be someone like her. Maybe it would be Ali. But not now. So you chase the girls that look nothing like her. Or like the Megan Fox type. Mysterious. Moody. Somebody who will give you the chase that you love. You never had to chase Ali. She was so into you that it started to get on your nerves. Oh, mate, she's texted me again. What did you expect? You literally make it worse for yourself. You could keep going back there. Honestly, whatever I say to this girl, she just will not leave me alone. I've been so mean to this girl. It's like she enjoys it. What? You look like you've seen a ghost. What? On your phone is a picture of a pregnancy test. You haven't got a clue what any of the lines mean. But the fact that she's sending it to you tells you everything you need to know. Your entire life flashes before your eyes. No more fun. You remember the words that your dad said to you just before you left home. You know what you'll have to do if it happens? Come into your truck and drive hours and hours until you arrive home. You sit on the drive staring at the steering wheel. You've completely ruined your life. Go inside and you talk to your parents. And when you leave there, you know exactly what you have to do. Stare down at the box in the passenger seat and you start the journey all the way back to school. You send the text message on the drive. Is anyone home at yours? We really need to talk. She doesn't make you wait for a reply. She never has. She's Ali after all, the safe bet. The beautiful, optimistic girl who you know you can always count on to be in love with you. He's finally texted you back. You had almost lost faith there for a minute. It's not like you not to be optimistic, but he really had you doubting yourself. You rushed to get home. You've been out with the girls trying to forget about the madness that had been going on. You say goodbyes to your friends and you were out there like a flash. When he arrives, he looks handsome as ever. You look at him in the moonlight. You wonder if your baby will have your blue eyes or his brown eyes, his olive skin, dimples. Even if he's not sure about the baby at this point, the fact that he's here is enough. I'm into his truck and it feels like home. You haven't sat in that seat for so many months. I just want to say thank you for coming to meet me. I know I've been a bit obsessive and I've been calling you, but I really didn't know who else to talk to. It's fine, I understand. I don't have to apologise, we'll talk about it when we get there. Get where? Where are we going? Pull up to the lake. It's a full moon and the water glitters when it reflects. He gestures to the picnic bench. He's never been romantic before. He makes it clear that he wants you to walk ahead of him. And then he leans over into the passenger side and pulls out a small box. But you don't see the box at that time. Your brain is too busy doing the somersaults. Is this it? Is he gonna ask me to be his girlfriend? He looks very nervous. You've never seen him nervous before. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Your cute little bunny face all lit up with excitement. You didn't see the box when he got it out of the car, but you see it now. He'd already posted the contents of the box to his Snapchat. No one, not even his friends, would have believed that this cheeky chap, womanizer, would ever have done this next. When he looked at her, he didn't see bunny pretty, he didn't see kind. He saw somebody who held the keys to a prison sentence, and she would have needed to have been a cat with 9 lives. One for every single one of the bullets that he would shoot into her, ending her life. No one would even have to report her missing. The guard would find her body by that lake the next morning. And that's how her mum and dad would find out that their beautiful, kind daughter had been killed by a boy that they had met and quite liked. And that is the story of how the beautiful Alexandria Costel would lose her life. Brandon originally pleaded not guilty in 2020, but eventually agreed to take a plea deal and was sentenced to life in prison. He will be eligible for parole at the age of 65. Ali's parents bravely have a foundation in her name, and Brandon's parents spoke in court about the importance of having open relationships with your children and letting their children know that no matter what is going on in their lives, they will be supported by their parents. Although I'm not sure I agree, I think Brandon was born evil, and no amount of open conversation could have stopped him.
Look at what the video posted by Daily Mail. Look at what it says. I'm sorry, human egg farm. I'm literally disgusted, and I have to give a mental health warning because we're gonna hit a lot of sensitive topics. So if you think that listening to this is gonna harm your mental health in any way, please skip this video and I will see you in my next one. Take care of yourselves. I mean it. Like, if you're not taking care of your mental health, I'll block you. I'll do it. In 2023 in Thailand, 3 Thai women came across an advertisement that was for what they considered to be an amazing opportunity. It was an ad for surrogacy work in a different country, the country of Georgia. They were looking for women who would accept an all expenses paid trip to Georgia. Everything was covered, including passport fees and travel costs, with the goal being become a surrogate for families who were struggling to have children of their own. So you would move to Georgia, you wouldn't have to pay for anything, but you would go to a loving family, move in with them, live with them in their home throughout your pregnancy, and then you would deliver the baby and you would be paid around close to $20,000 in US dollars, which is a large sum of money. So these women see this ad and they think this is an amazing opportunity. They all were more than willing to go to Georgia to help out a beautiful, loving family in need and to get paid a lot of money in return. It sounded like a win-win. They're intrigued, so they respond to the ad. They kind of raise their hands and say, I want to do this. And shortly after, they're contacted by a man in Thailand who explains a little bit more about what they would be expected to do. And again, reiterates that the only thing that they would have to do would be carry a baby full term. And I'm not saying the only thing they would have to do as if having a baby was an easy thing to do, but you get what I mean. And in return, they would be paid well whilst living in their house with this designated family in Georgia. Great, okay, sounds good, let's do it. The man in Thailand meets them at the airport. He gives them all their flight tickets and off they go. As soon as they land, they are met at the airport by a group of Chinese men. And little alarm bells started ringing because in their heads, they were kind of expecting to meet the designated family that they were going to be working for at the airport. But instead, it was a group of men. So they're starting to feel a little bit uneasy about the situation, but this was new to them. Did they really have any expectations? Not really. They hadn't done this before. They had never been to Georgia before. And this group of men was at the airport waiting for them, expecting them. They then tell them that they would give them a ride. So all 3 women get in this vehicle with this group of men. And they had no idea that the place that they were getting taken to was straight out of a horror film. When they arrive at their destination, one of the first things that happens almost immediately is that their passports get taken away and their suitcases get taken away, and they're standing there having no idea what they're walking into. 1, scared, but also 2, confused because all of their belongings just got taken from them, and the building that they're now supposed to walk into looks nothing like a family house, nothing like what they were promised. It has been described as a compound containing 4 houses, and in each house there were a lot of rooms, and in each room there were multiple beds. Inside the first house there were already 60 Thai women being held. The most noticeable thing was that they all appeared to be in poor health, and just by their facial expressions it looked like they were there against their will. When the 3 women arrived, they were all shown to a bed and told that that would be the bed that they would be sleeping in, which was in a room with other beds where other women were sleeping. And then they walked through the houses, and it's been estimated that around 100 Thai women, if not more, were living in these 4 houses. When the group of men left, the 3 women were petrified. I can't even imagine what was going through their head, but their fear and concern only got worse when they started talking to the other women that were in the compound, and they realized that they were being held there against their will in these horrible conditions. Every single one of those women, so 100 if not more, fell into the fake surrogate ad. Every single one of them was from Thailand, and every single one of them ended up in Georgia because they all believed the same lie. Some of them had been there for up to 8 months. I think one of them had been there for almost a year, and they all felt absolutely and completely trapped.
But they were not there to be surrogates to loving, happy families. No, of course they weren't. Instead, they were being held and forced to undergo monthly egg retrieval procedures for the group of men to collect their eggs to sell them on the IVF black market. It makes me physically nauseous, like I'm sick, saying that sentence out loud and knowing that it's true. And forcing egg retrieval is not a simple procedure at all. It involves hormonal stimulation that they would literally be strapped down and forced down for, and it's overall an incredibly invasive and traumatizing procedure when it's done the way that it was done to them, and it's one that comes with a lot of health risks. And of course, because what they were doing was extremely wrong and illegal, in the compound there were no safety protocols at all. Zero, none, putting every single woman in there at high risk for complications. On top of that, they were only given rice and eggs to eat. That was it. That was their diet. And they only were really given enough to barely survive. And they were locked inside of these houses all day, every day, with none of their belongings, no passports, packed full in rooms, living in horrific conditions. And they were constantly told that if they tried to escape, their fingers would be cut off, or worse. And if they wanted to be allowed to leave, they would have to pay the men. Oh my God, I hate them. They would have to give them a lot of money, or they would have to give them enough eggs that would equal to the amount of money. Immediately, those 3 women, along with the other 100 plus women, felt so stuck and so trapped. Now we need to talk about Na. And Na is not her real name, but that is what she's being identified as. Somehow, some way, after Na had been in there for months, she managed to get in contact with her family back in Thailand, and her family managed to get money together, enough money so that Na could pay off her debt to these men so that she would be let go. Na's family paid the money, and the men let Na go back to Thailand with her family. Thankfully, she was able to return safely, and she was reunited with her family. And even though she was threatened a lot by the disgusting, filthy men before she left, the 3 women begged Na to seek help. They asked her to please get help when she got back to Thailand, because they did not want to be in the compound for an indefinite amount of time, and they also knew that they would never be able to pay the money to pay off their debt. The same month that Na landed back in Thailand, she reached out to a women's charity in Thailand, and she told them everything. She told them everything from beginning to end about the entire operation, what was going on, and she begged them to help. The charity was mortified, and they eventually reached out to the Foreign Affairs Division of the Royal Thai Police, who then reached out to Interpol, which is the International Police Organization, which eventually led to the rescue of the 3 women. Thankfully, they were luckily able to return back to Thailand safely in January 20th of 2025. This was only because the charity was able to raise enough money to pay the idiot men to let the 3 women go, and they did. We know this entire story because those 3 women decided to go public with their story. We know that their identities are being kept private, but we know that it's true, and we know that it matters, and we know that it's still happening. As of right now, as we sit here and talk to each other, this is still going on. Those 100 plus women are still there being held against their will. There's currently an ongoing investigation, but I'm hoping and praying that a lot of progress is being made. And there's not really a lot of information out on this case right now, but I hope that sooner than later we get an update on what's going on, and I hope that a lot is going on behind the scenes. Truly disgusting, and I literally cannot believe that that this is a real story. Anyway, that is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys for spending time with me today. I hope you're having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.
When I was 10, my mom decided that she wanted to move to a different town. We moved to this like rural area, kind of in the desert in Southern California. Now, at this time, the town that I lived in really didn't have much there. And surprisingly, this house that we moved into was a new build. I know you typically hear about stories being, you know, it's an old home, and this was not my experience, okay? This was a new build. So I was 10, we move into this house. It's a pretty big house. It's about probably like close to 3,000 square feet, 2 stories, 5 bedroom, totally different than what I grew up in. I remember being a kid and the house creaking like all the time. And I really didn't think about this too much because I was a kid. But now that I'm older, these homes that are built, and this was built probably in like 2005, don't creak like an old house, okay? Like the house isn't settling constantly. It started out with really small things, like the house creaking and hearing like footsteps and just things like that. I noticed it as a kid, but it wasn't something that I was like consciously thinking about all the time. Time went on, it started to get really scary really quick. And I would say that the paranormal activity probably began around the age of like 11, 12 for me. Kid, I struggled with obsessive compulsive disorder, so it wasn't a surprise that I was really anxious all the time, but I always felt like somebody was watching me and I couldn't ever shake the feeling. I remember specifically this one time, I was probably about 12 and I was in my bedroom and I heard my mom in her bedroom humming. And my mom is one of those people who just sings all the time. Like, she's doing laundry, she's singing, she's doing the dishes, she's singing. Like, she's just one of those like bubbly, happy people. This house was pretty large, but it was also kind of like an open concept. So I was on one side of the house and then her bedroom was on the other side of the house, and we had an upstairs living room. Hollered into her bedroom and I said, I'm gonna go downstairs and make something to eat. Do you want anything? And she said, no thanks. So I was like, okay, whatever. I go downstairs and there's my mother in the kitchen. And I'm like, how did you get down here so fast? I look around and I notice there's like a mop, there's a broom, there's like cleaning supplies out. Like, she's been cleaning for a while. And she's like, I've been down here this whole time. Chills, full body chills. Okay? Because who the fuck was I talking to? This started to happen a lot. Anytime that I would like talk to my sister or I would talk to one of my parents, I would think that I'm talking to my parent, and then again, like, I wasn't seeing them, but we were hearing each other because it was like an open concept house, so you could just kind of, your voice would just echo. At that point, I started to feel like I couldn't even trust who I was talking to because what the fuck? Obviously, I tell my mom what just happened, but she's just like in la la land because it's a new house and she loves her new house and no one's gonna ruin that for her. So time goes on and my mom got a new job, so she was gone pretty much all the time. I was in independent study at the time, so I did like school part-time on campus and then the other part-time I was at home. So I was home a lot alone as a kid, and not like super young. Like, at this point I'm like 12, 13. But I'm also too young to like leave the house. Like, I can't get in a car and leave if I want to. Nobody's home. I'm sitting on the couch watching TV with my dogs and I hear footsteps upstairs, like full on footsteps, like someone walking through her bedroom. At this point, it sounds like they're running laps in her bedroom. I'm thinking to myself, someone broke in. You know, somebody broke into the house. I'm literally like 12, 13 years old and like, what am I supposed to do? I thought, okay, maybe this is something paranormal, maybe not. But I go ahead and I go upstairs and nobody, of course, is there. This went on for years, and by the time I was able to drive, whenever I was home alone, like, I didn't even wait for stuff to happen. Like, I would just get my dog and fucking leave. It just literally was never worth it for me. By the time I was 15, I could like barely ever sleep because it was literally torture at this point. And I remember specifically this one time I was trying to go to sleep and I swear I thought my mom was in the laundry room doing laundry. It sounded like somebody was literally dragging bags of laundry across the laundry room. So I opened my door to go have a conversation with her, and of course, nobody's there. Surprise, surprise. At this point, I'm just like over it. Like, I'm emotionally, psychologically exhausted. So the next night, I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, right? Again, open concept house. So imagine like a big upstairs living room. You can see all the different bedrooms. I'm brushing my teeth, and at this point I'm a night owl because I really have no other fucking choice. And I do have pets, but they're cats, right? Like, little meows and little growls are normal here and there. But what I heard was literally not human. So I'm in the bathroom brushing my teeth, right? It's a Jack and Jill sink, so there's like 2 sinks. I'm on the sink closest to the door, and I can see the couch from my point of view. Okay, well, my light just died, so I have to finish this without my light. But I'm standing there brushing my teeth, and I hear this insane non-human growl come from behind the couch. I obviously look at the couch mid-brushing teeth like, what the fuck was that? Okay? And then the blanket that was laying on top of the couch gets ripped off. I'm done. I don't fuck my teeth. I don't care. I throw my toothbrush down. I still have like toothpaste like in my mouth. I don't care. I run to my bedroom, right? Like I'm running, and I can feel, I get chills just thinking about this. I can feel a cold air running down my spine. My bedroom was at the top of a landing. It wasn't a 3rd story, but there was like a stairs up to my bedroom. So I go running up those stairs, and I swear to God, I get shoved and I fucking fall down. I run into my bedroom, I slam my door, I'm hysterically crying. Like I can't even move at this point. Like I'm just literally terrified. I also suck at doing makeup and telling stories, by the way. Clearly, I'm like not even halfway done. And I would try to talk to my parents about this, but these things would literally always happen when they weren't around. And they were happening to my other siblings as well. I grew up with 2 older sisters, but my parents were never, like it just never happened when they were there. It would only happen to us.
However, coined the phrase, "You can't make this stuff up," might have known the story of real-life boogeyman, Albert Fish. A slight, elderly man with grey hair, no one suspected the kindly single father of being sadistic child murderer and cannibal.
Children having imaginary friends doesn't seem like a big deal until you start to see them. This story is coming from a lady named Anna, and she is a widow and she has 2 twin girls. The twins are 6 years old, and together with the mom they attended this birthday party that the mom's friend made for their child. The mom's friend's house just so happened to be really close to a cemetery. Red flags, red flags. At this birthday party, the twins had a really good time. They even made new friends. So towards the end of the birthday party, the twins came up to their mom and asked if they can invite their new friend to spend the night. Anna agreed that she could spend the night, but they had to go ask the girl's parents for permission, and then they would take her with them. So the twins ran off to go and tell the little girl to ask the parents, and a while later they come back and tell their mom that they agreed and the little girl was gonna come and spend the night. So Anna was like, okay, cool, and looked around because only her twin daughters had came back and the friend was nowhere to be found. So when she asked her twins where's their friend, the 2 girls just looked at each other and were like, I'm not sure, maybe her parents are gonna drop her off at our house. Anna thought it was weird because she was like, well, I don't know if they know where we live, but whatever, let's just go home, and they went about their way. So when they got home, time passed, it got really late, and nobody went and dropped off any girl at her house, so all 3 of them went to bed. Around midnight, Anna wakes up because she could hear her twins laughing and laughing in their bedroom. So Anna gets out of bed, goes to her twins' bedroom, and gets mad at them for being loud and playing when she had just put him to bed an hour ago. She tells them that they need to go to bed and stay put. However, this was to happen every night since then. Night after night, Anna would wake up hearing her daughters laughing and playing with toys. She would go into their bedroom, get mad at them, and tell them to go to sleep. So Friday comes, and again she's awoken by her daughters playing and being loud in their bedrooms, but Anna was like, you know what, I'm gonna let them play. It's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday, they don't have to get up early, so I'm just gonna let them be. So the following day, Saturday, when they were having breakfast, the mom asked the girls if they had fun last night playing with their toys, and one of the girls admitted to mom that yeah, they had so much fun and that their new friend just made them laugh so much. Excuse me? Anna was a little shocked by that response, and she asked them, what friend are you talking about? And one of the girls was like, well, the girl from the party, remember we asked you for permission to let her come over and spend the night. When she heard that, she did get goosebumps, but then she was like, oh, they're 6 years old, they're probably making this up, they have an imaginary friend, maybe it's a stuffed animal for all she knew, so she really didn't give it that much importance. So that Saturday went pretty normal. They left the house, they went to the park, they came back home, and when it came to nighttime, they all went to bed, and again, the mom is woken up by the girls playing in their bedroom. So of course, Anna gets up, but this time instead of opening the door, she decides to put her ear to the door and just listen in on what the girls are saying or what they're laughing at. It is there when she hears both of her daughter's voices and a third completely different voice. Anna was like, how are my twins creating a third voice? Like, how are they creating this voice that sounds completely different and pretending it's their imaginary friend? She was very curious, but she decided not to open the door just yet because she wanted to continue to hear what they were saying. So as she's listening, she then hears one of her twin daughters starts crying, and that is the moment that she opens the door and walks in. When she opens the door, she sees that both of her daughters are in the middle of the room sitting down, and one of them is indeed crying. Obviously, she gets in there and asks her daughter why she's crying. That is when her daughter, in between cries, tells her mom that their friend pulled her hair and she honestly just wants her to leave already. Anna did not know how to respond to that. She didn't know how to react to that, so she just said, you know what, let's just go to sleep. You guys shouldn't have been out of bed anyway. Please go to sleep. She told them to get some rest and that they would talk about this in the morning. The following morning, Anna did wait for the girls to bring up the conversation, but they didn't bring anything up. So she waited until dinner time to bring it up because they never brought this friend up the entire day. But because the girls are 6 years old, she decided to ask them about it in a very joking way. So she tells them, hey, where's your friend? Did she decide not to stay for dinner? Anna expected her daughters to laugh because she was trying to make a joke. However, her daughters did not laugh. They stayed very serious, and one of the girls told her she doesn't want to leave and we don't want her to be here anymore. She doesn't let us play in peace. She hits us and she pulls our hair when she gets mad, and she doesn't let us go to sleep. She always wants to play with us, but only in the middle of the night, and we're just tired of her already. After hearing this, Anna stayed at that dinner table just silent, not knowing what to say back to them. That same night, they all went to bed, and this time Anna got woken up again, except it wasn't with the laughter of her daughters. It was a completely different strange sound. She gets out of bed, she goes to the hallway and fully expects to see her daughter's room lit up, but everything is in complete darkness. Regardless, she still headed over to her daughter's bedroom. She just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. When she opens the door, it's complete darkness, so they're not out and about playing with toys or anything like that. She decides that she's gonna get close to their bunk beds and give them a kiss goodnight and go back to sleep. As she gets closer to the bunk bed, she notices that one of the girls on the top bunk is sitting Indian style in the middle of the bed. So she tells her, hey, you should be asleep right now. You need to lay down, go to sleep because you have school tomorrow. So she was gonna give the girl on the top bunk time to lay down to give her a kiss goodnight. So in the meantime, she bent over to the bottom bunk to give the other girl a kiss. However, that is when she sees that both of her twin daughters were asleep in the bottom bunk together. Anna stayed paralyzed, seeing both of her daughters in that bottom bunk. She didn't even want to look back up at that top bunk, because if both her daughters were at the bottom, who the fuck was at the top? Anna didn't know what to do. She was like, should I run? Should I wake up the girls? Should we all run together out there? Little by little, she picks up her head and is ready to just face what is up there. And when she does, there is nobody in that top bunk anymore. Even though in the moment she was very scared, Anna just thought to herself, wait, I might be hallucinating. I just woke up. I'm still sleepy. I definitely didn't see a girl up there. She decided not to wake up her daughters. She left their room and decided to go to bed. She admits that when she got into bed in the beginning, she couldn't really fall asleep because she was still a little bit scared. She was questioning what she had seen. Was she half asleep? Was it her imagination? But eventually she did end up falling asleep. However, Anna said that in between like a dream and awake state, she could have sworn that she heard a little girl ask her, can I sleep here with you? She didn't know if it was actually one of her daughters or if she was just having a dream, but of course she told the little girl, yeah, come into bed with me. Since she was still like half asleep, she just opened up the blanket and she felt when a little kid got into bed with her. However, she noticed that the kid was really cold, so in between like half and asleep, she got another blanket and put it over the little girl so that she wouldn't be so cold. A few moments later, she also hears that little girl voice ask her, can you be my mom? At that point, Anna was annoyed and she's like, I'm already your mom. Go to sleep. You have school tomorrow. The morning comes and Anna woke up super late to take her kids to school, but when she does, the twins were already ready and dressed and everything, but she notices that one of the twins has a lot of scratch marks and bruising all over her arm. She also notices that the girl's demeanor is very sad, like very depressed, so she asked her what happened. The little girl tells her mom, I don't want to live here anymore. I just want to move somewhere else. I don't want to be here. And Anna, trying to console her daughter, was like, but why? This is our home. Don't you like living here? What's going on? And that's when her daughter says, well, it's because I don't want want to share you. That's when Anna got really concerned, because not only were her daughters playing with somebody, getting their hair put, scratches, she was like, why are they saying these weird things now, like they're sharing me? She thought that with time, them not wanting to live there anymore would pass, but no, time after time, the girls were more sad, more depressed, and they didn't want to live there anymore. It got so bad that the girls didn't even want to sleep in their own bedroom anymore. They would cry night after night, and she would have to go in there and console them. Not only were the girls not getting any sleep, but Anna wasn't getting any sleep either, and at this point, they were all hearing little footsteps all throughout the house, even though the twin girls were asleep in her bed. Anna was tired, the girls were tired, and she ended up saying, okay, we're gonna go and stay with your grandmother for a few days. Every now and again, Anna would go to the house just to grab some stuff, and she would still hear those like freaking steps throughout the house, even though she was the only one in there. There was also one time where she went to go grab some clothes for the girls, where she could swear that she heard a little girl crying in one of the bedrooms. As Anna was exiting her home, locking up, one of her neighbors came up to her. This neighbor walks up to her and says, hey, how come one of your daughters stays with your mom and you leave the other one here by herself? Why are you leaving one of your daughters here for weeks? She's lonely. Why are you doing this to her? This is not okay. Anna didn't even know what to say. She was like in shock of what her neighbor was telling her, and that's when the neighbor continued, why are you leaving her there? I see her peeking through the window. She's lonely. Please stop doing this to her. If you have no one to take care of her, bring her to my house. I'll take care of her for you, but please stop leaving her alone. And remember, there was nobody in Anna's house because both of the girls were staying at their grandmother's house with her. After that, they never went back home. They never went back to living in that house. They stayed with the grandmother. I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation. Actually, yeah, I would get the fuck out. First of all, I would have been out the first night those girls were like, oh, my friend makes me laugh so much. Fuck that. Anyway, what would you guys do? Did you guys have an imaginary friend growing up? Hopefully no. Hopefully no. Hopefully it was imaginary, actually.
There's no reason that I should have watched this movie at 10 years old, because not only is it just really disturbing, but it's also based on a real case called the Alphabet Murders. Between 1971 and 1973, 3 young girls would be kidnapped in broad daylight in Rochester, New York, just blocks away from their home. They would all be found dead days later, killed in a similar way, some even fed before their death and redressed after. All 3 of their first and last names started with the same initial, and their bodies were all dumped in towns that started with the same letter. So we have Carmen Colon, who was found dead in Churchville, New York, Wanda Walkowicz, who was found dead in Webster, and Michelle Mainza, who was found in Macedon. Police believe that they were all killed by the same man, and because of their double initials, they became known as the Alphabet Murders. This case is so incredibly disturbing, and it is still unsolved, so let's talk about it. But before we get into the details, this is your trigger warning, because what you're about to hear is sickening. This story begins with Carmen Colon. Carmen was a 10-year-old little girl who lived with her grandparents in Rochester. She was known to be really quiet, but she was a very kind girl. She would often go into town to run some errands for her grandpa Felix. Most of the time, her grandpa would go with her, but on November 16th, 1971, Carmen begged her grandparents to let her go alone. She wanted to have some independence, and after much persistence, her grandparents said yes. So Carmen left that day at around 4 p.m., and she made her way to a pharmacy only 2 blocks away. When she got there, the prescription still hadn't been filled, so she left the store to kill some time. One of the store employees recalled seeing Carmen get into a parked car close to the pharmacy. The last time Carmen was ever seen alive was about an hour later. Witnesses saw her running down Interstate 490 about 12 miles away from her home. She was nude from the waist down, and she was screaming and waving her arms to try and get someone's attention. Carmen was running away from a car that was now backing up to try and get her. The car was believed to be a dark-colored Ford Pinto hatchback. Another witness saw Carmen being forced back into the car by a man who quickly caught up to her. This was the very last time that she was ever seen alive, as she disappeared right after this. What's sad is that not one single person stopped to help her, which is crazy considering she was a literal child being chased like that down the highway. Everyone who came forward as a witness to this said that they were all just in too much of a hurry to get home. When Carmen failed to return home that night, she was reported missing to the Rochester police. Sadly, 2 days later, her body would be found. That day, a couple of teenage boys were riding their bikes in the town of Churchville, which is 35 miles southwest of Rochester. There they stumbled across what they thought was a broken doll in a ditch on the side of the road. But upon looking closer, they found that it was actually the missing 10-year-old girl, Carmen. She was nude, and all of her clothes were scattered in a trail leading from where she was running down the highway to where she was found. An autopsy found that Carmen had been SA'd, and not only did she suffer from a fractured skull, but she'd also been strangled by hand, and her entire body was covered in scratch marks. After her body body was found, police interviewed a ton of suspects, which included her uncle Miguel, but I'll get more into that later. But no one was ever charged with her murder, and soon her case would fall cold. Then, another kidnapping and murder would happen that would shock Rochester, leading to the realization that there is a killer on the loose, stalking and targeting young girls. 17 months after Carmen was abducted and murdered, another young girl would go missing, 11-year-old Wanda Walkowicz. Wanda was described as a tomboy who was also very shy but kind. She would usually help her mom with buying groceries, as her dad had died a few years prior. So on April 2nd, 1973, that's exactly what she did. At around 5 p.m., Wanda walked to the store by herself where she bought all of the groceries just like her mom had asked. She started to walk home on Conkey Avenue, where the owner of the store said that nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But within 15 minutes, and only a couple of blocks from home, she vanished. Her mom reported her missing at 8 p.m. that same night, and immediately police began a massive search. At this point, Carmen's case was still fresh in their minds, and they didn't want what happened to her to happen again. So they searched everywhere that Wanda could have possibly been, but they found nothing. Then witnesses started coming forward, painting a picture of Wanda's last movements. One witness said that about an hour after she left the store that day, they saw her struggling to carry her groceries, and in the background, several people saw a brown car circling around her. Then more people came forward and claimed to have seen Wanda standing alongside the passenger door of a large brown vehicle, talking to the driver, which they couldn't see for some reason. This wasn't even 1 mile from her home. Some said they saw Wanda hesitating at the car door. Another witness said that at around 5:30 p.m. on the day Wanda went missing, they saw a man forcing a little girl who resembled her into a light-colored Dodge Dart on Conkey Avenue, which lined up with where she was last known to be walking. But after this, it's like she vanished into thin air. That is until the next day. At around 10 the next morning, a state trooper found Wanda's body at the bottom of a hill. Just above it was a rest area off of State Route 104, and this was in Webster, New York, 15 miles from her home. Wanda was fully dressed, and an autopsy discovered that just like Carmen, she had been SA'd and strangled. Except in Wanda's case, she'd been strangled with a belt, and on top of this, she had a lot of defensive wounds on her body. Authorities found that she had been redressed after her death, and male DNA and hair were found on her body. What stood out immediately to investigators, though, was that white cat fur was found on her clothes, which must have come from the killer because Wanda and her family did not have a cat, or any pet for that matter. Another clue was the position of her body, and according to investigators, it looked like she'd been thrown from a moving vehicle, and her body just so happened to roll down the hill. And even more chilling is the fact that authorities found traces of food in her stomach, indicating that the killer fed her right before she died. This caused mass panic because now you have two little girls, similar in age and how they were abducted and killed, and more so the panic came because both of their first and last names started with the same initial, and then they were found dead in a town that also shared that same initial. So while the city was demanding answers, police initially stated that the murders were not connected. At first, police thought that Carmen was killed by a separate person because she was found nude and had been strangled differently, but they soon changed their minds when 7 months later, yet another little girl would go missing under similar circumstances. On November 26, 1973, 11-year-old Michelle Mainza mysteriously disappeared after leaving school early. Just like the other two girls, Michelle was really shy and didn't have many friends, and she was actually bullied a lot in school. She didn't have access to baths and showers like most people do, and all of her clothes were torn and always dirty. That day, as usual, Michelle was being bullied, so she went to her school nurse in tears wanting to go home. Feeling bad, the nurse let her go home, and she was then seen walking away from the school grounds at around 3:20 p.m. After this, she vanished, and she was soon reported missing. It didn't take long in this case, though, for tips to come pouring in. The first tip that came in was from someone who saw Michelle 10 minutes after leaving her school. She was sitting in the passenger seat of a tan vehicle that was driving really fast before turning onto Webster Avenue, and at this point in time, Michelle was crying. Another witness came forward and said that they saw Michelle at a hamburger stand. She was in a man's car, and they described this man as having really dirty hands. The witness saw this man go back to his car with a bag of food and a cup, where he then drove away. The last sighting of Michelle came at around 5:30 that evening. A motorist who was driving along Route 350 in the town of Walworth spotted a man standing on the side of the road next to his tan vehicle that had a flat tire. The man was holding a little girl who this motorist thought was Michelle by the wrist. When the motorist pulled over to see if the man needed any help, the man grabbed the little girl and pushed her behind his back, and for the rest of the encounter, he hid his license plate from the witness and angrily stared at him. The witness said that he was staring in almost a psychotic way, and it disturbed him so much that he drove away. But from this encounter, police were able to put together this composite sketch of the potential suspect suspect, which they were hoping was going to help. Sadly, though, that was not the case. 2 days later, Michelle's body was found laying face down in a ditch in the town of Macedon. This is 20 miles from her home in Rochester. Like Wanda, Michelle was fully dressed, but she was redressed after her death. And in a similar manner, Michelle was also SA'd and then strangled to from behind with a thin rope. She also had extensive blunt force trauma to her entire body, and just like Wanda, she too had white cat fur all over her clothes. Authorities also found traces of a hamburger and onions in her stomach, which lines up with the witness account at the hamburger stand. Investigators found leaves clutched in Michelle's hands that matched the leaves surrounding her body, so this led authorities to conclude that she was likely killed where she was found. Police also found male DNA on her body and underwear, and a partial palm print on her neck. This was one of the few differences in these 3 cases, because this was the first print that authorities were able to get that was useful to the investigation. So now there were 3 little girls taken and killed under the same circumstances. It was at this point that police publicly stated that they believe one man is responsible for killing all 3 girls. Over the years, police have interviewed over 800 potential suspects, but to this day, no one has ever been charged in connection to these murders. And although this case is still unsolved and we don't know who is responsible, there are a few suspects that stand out. Suspect number 1 was Carmen's uncle, Miguel. Like I mentioned earlier, Miguel was looked at as a possible suspect for a few reasons. Just weeks before her murder, Miguel bought a car that closely resembled the car seen by witnesses backing up on the highway, essentially hunting Carmen. And when police searched said car, they found that it had very recently been deep cleaned, and the trunk was washed with a strong cleaning solution. But then 4 days after Carmen's murder, Miguel suddenly left the country, and when police finally tracked him down, he couldn't give them a good explanation on where he was the night Carmen died. He was taken into custody, but was eventually released because there was no physical evidence tying him to the crimes. 20 years later, Miguel ended his own life after shooting and wounding his wife and brother. Some still believe that he may have been involved, but his family stood behind him, maintaining his innocence. Suspect number 2 was Dennis Termini, a 25-year-old Rochester firefighter. Between 1971 and 1973, the same years as the murders, Dennis SA'd 14 girls and women, and had a similar vehicle too. He also lived close to where Michelle was last seen alive. 5 weeks after Michelle's death, he went on to kidnap another potential victim, and after being chased by police, he ended his own life too. When police searched his car, can you guess what they found all over it? White cat fur. In 2007, his body was exhumed to compare DNA evidence that was found on Wanda's body, but oddly enough, it was not a match. So even though this seemed like a good fit, he was ruled out as a suspect. Suspect number 3 was the hillside strangler, Kenneth Bianchi. He was born and raised in Rochester, but he went on to SA and strangle several women in Los Angeles, throwing their bodies off of hillsides. But again, DNA did not match in this case, and Kenneth has denied any involvement in the Alphabet murders. And lastly, suspect number 4 is Joseph Naso, and honestly, the similarities here are disturbing. So Joseph is known as the double initial killer because between 1970 and 1990, he SA'd and strangled 4 women in California. All 4 of his victims had double initials, just like the girls. And what's incredibly chilling is the fact that one of his victims had the exact same name as 10-year-old Carmen Colon. So this definitely seems like the right guy, right? Well, again, after DNA testing, Joseph did not match, and he was also ruled out as a suspect. What's so sad and scary to me in this entire case is the fact that so many people saw these girls after they were abducted, yet no one helped them. And for 15 years after Wanda was killed, an unknown person kept going to the cemetery where she was buried to clean her gravestone and leave flowers. Her family has no idea who this person was. So after I watched this movie, The Alphabet Killer, at like 10 years old, I couldn't sleep for a long time. It's just a really heavy, visually disturbing movie. And then when I grew up, I found that it was loosely based on this case, which makes it even scarier. But it's now been 54 years. This case remains unsolved to this day, and the killer could very well still be out there.